Trump was asked about this clip on Monday.
They rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell when you landed. Is that something you would ever consider, and why?
Pardon for who?
For Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon, but nobody's approached me with it. Nobody's asked me about it.
Hey, no one asked if you were allowed. We're all allowed to do plenty of stuff we absolutely should not do. I'm allowed to wear flip-flops to a funeral, but I would never, ever do that. I would not do that a second time. Love it or leave it. But first, let's get into it. What a week. Just 6 months into the second Trump administration and 3.5 weeks into Epstein Gate, it's official. We're all conspiracy theorists now. That's right, the earth is flat and covered with elite pedophiles. Now let's all cast our minds back to 2008. It's the Great Recession. Carrie and Big got married in the Sex and the City movie, so we figured that was done. And Jeffrey Epstein, who'd been accused of abusing multiple teen girls, just struck an unprecedented sweetheart deal with prosecutor Alex Acosta, who would later become Trump's Secretary of Labor. But we didn't know that yet. We didn't know Trump would ever have a cabinet. Hadn't even heard a porn star's description of what his penis looks like. We were innocent and we were happy. Now, under that plea agreement, Epstein served only 13 months in county jail, most of it spent on work release. Back to the grind, said a newly freed Jeffrey Epstein, placing a compromising photo of Prince Andrew into an envelope along with a greetings from Palm Beach postcard, blank except for a 12-digit account number registered to Banco Nacional de Panama. It's a living. Epstein is described at that time as a hedge fund manager, even though there aren't any SEC filings to prove a hedge fund ever existed. And yeah, sure, you can claim your profession is what you believe you should be one day, but not in New York. That's an LA thing. Now, as a result of the plea, the depths of Epstein's depravity were not publicly known, and even though he was a registered sex offender, he still used his wealth to keep his purchase in polite society, holding dinners, donating to academic institutions, mingling with celebrities and elites, and he used those connections to enrich himself further. Billionaire Leon Black, the founder of Apollo Global Management, paid Epstein at least $170 million, according to an investigation in the Senate led by Ron Wyden, all years after Epstein pled in 2008. This was, according to Wyden's investigation, ostensibly for tax planning purposes, even though Epstein had no tax expertise and most of the money was paid outside of any written contract or agreement, which isn't totally true because a lot of what Epstein sent Black was in a folder on his computer labeled taxes. Now it's 10 years later, in 2018, we get to see those funky Obama portraits. They were cool. They're really cool. Ariana Grande and Pete Davidson are giving us the feels. The success of Crazy Rich Asians leads Hollywood studios to wonder, could we cast Asians? And Julia K. Brown's reporting in the Miami Herald identified at least 80 victims of Jeffrey Epstein and brought national attention to the Acosta plea agreement, which led the Department of Justice to reopen the investigation. Now 15 years since a 14-year-old girl's family went to the police in Palm Beach to say that she had been molested at Epstein's mansion, and police at that time found multiple girls who'd been victims of sexual abuse. Now, all of this fed conspiracy theories, and it was pretty justified. Epstein had received special treatment. His wealth was mysterious. He did cavort with the wealthy and powerful. He was Jewish. But many went further, claiming Epstein was a spy for Mossad, that he amassed a vast trove of blackmail materials, which was why he remained free, and that his impunity was proof of a broader conspiracy between elites and the deep state to protect a vast global ring of famous pedophiles. But all of that was about to be put to rest because in July of 2019, federal agents arrested Epstein for sexual abuse and sex trafficking. The truth would finally come out until just 1 month later.
Well, now to breaking news. Sources tell CBS 2 that Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire financier and convicted sex offender, has died by suicide.
Epstein didn't kill himself became a battle cry, and his death meant we never got a public trial where we would have gotten much more of the truth, plus probably one good podcast and 3 bad podcasts. Now, personally, I think we should have gone ahead with the trial anyway, like when they exhumed the corpse of Pope Formosus and put him on trial in the year 897. Every few centuries, the Catholics have like a really good idea. Now, Donald Trump and his MAGA influencers long recognized the usefulness of the conspiratorial mindset. Back in 2016, an idiotic conspiracy theory claimed that it was called Pizzagate, and it claimed that Hillary Clinton and other Democrats were sending coded messages in their leaked emails, which proved she was running a pedophile ring out of the basement of a DC pizza parlor in a building with no basement. And as silly and fake as it was, a very real gunman showed up there firing at a door to release the prisoners. And once I heard the commotion, I just got mine to go. Out of office, Trump and the MAGA establishment fanned the flames of all kinds of conspiracy theories, from Epstein to vaccines, to make sure that all of the red string would lead him back to the White House. And it worked. And once in office, he made conspiratorial podcast host Dan Bongino deputy FBI director. And he made Kash Patel, who had praised the QAnon movement, he made him the head of the FBI. It was so exciting. This was like the end of the movie Rudy for people who think Jews have horns. And then it all came crashing down. In February, Attorney General Pam Bondi brought MAGA influencers to the White House to pose with binders of Epstein evidence labeled Epstein Phase 1. But the binders actually turned out to reveal no new information. She told a reporter that the Epstein list was on her desk to review, but a few months later said that no such list even exists. Phase 1, make a big promise. Phase 2, humiliate yourself. Been there, girlfriend. And then the New York Times reported that the Justice Department had roped in hundreds of FBI employees and federal prosecutors to comb through more than 100,000 pages of Epstein documents to flag any references to Donald Trump and other prominent people, which they then recorded in a Microsoft SharePoint file. In other words, the Justice Department created an Epstein list, and they won't release it. Now, I get it. Sharing your work is vulnerable. We all struggle with imposter syndrome from time to time, but you made something really special, the Justice Department. The world deserves to see it. Next, we learned that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who at this time last year was Trump's personal attorney, took the highly unusual step of meeting behind closed doors with Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, who is currently serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking. But in the tradition of transparency, Blanche did provide the press with a low-res video feed of the meeting, shot from an unrelated hallway with approximately 62 crucial seconds missing. Now, all of this raises an obvious question. Is the Trump administration dangling a pardon for Maxwell if she'll say that Trump had no involvement in Epstein's misconduct? And that raises an obvious answer: yes. After all, seems like if Donald Trump wants to silence Ghislaine Maxwell, he's got 2 options. He dangles a pardon, or she dangles from the ceiling. And if you came to this show because you like Patton Oswalt and Ratatouille, welcome. Trump was asked about this clip on Monday.
We rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell when you landed. Is that something you would ever consider, and why?
Pardon for who?
For Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon, but nobody's approached me with it. Nobody's asked me about it.
Hey, no one asked if you were allowed. We're all allowed to do plenty of stuff we absolutely should not do. I'm allowed to wear flip-flops to a funeral, but I would never, ever do that. I would not do that a second time. And here's the thing, Trump can't seem to get his story straight about why his friendship with Epstein came to an end, which is weird because explaining why you stopped being friends with a pedophile shouldn't be the hard part. After Epstein's indictment in 2019, Trump said that he and Epstein had a falling out 15 years earlier, around 2004, and said the reason doesn't make any difference, frankly. The type of thing you say when the reason 100% makes a difference. Last week, the White House said in a statement, the fact is that the president kicked Epstein out of his club for being a creep. And that just doesn't track. You can't kick out all the creeps from Mar-a-Lago. That's like kicking out all the Pilates moms from Whole Foods or the virgins out of the gun stores. You won't have a business. Besides, the easy answer is sitting right there. Trump should just admit that his country club doesn't accept Jews. Now, that's the third one. That's the third one. I'm hearing it now. Love It or Leave It is brought to you by Bombas. Summer's here and we're all chasing something, a break, a goal, a vibe. Let's not let bad socks and blisters ruin it. Bombas makes socks that keep up with whatever your summer looks like. Whether you're running a marathon or just a few errands. Seriously, you know that song that makes you want to go fast? Bombas running socks are like that. They wick sweat, help you keep cool and fight blisters. And it's not just running. They make specialized pairs for hiking, tennis, golf, you name it. They even make socks that can make international flights bearable. Yeah, we're talking Bombas compression socks to help curb aches and keep those legs energized for all the sightseeing ahead.
Yeah, we're talking compression socks.
So I just went to Italy for a vacation during the summer, and Ari bought Bombas compression socks to wear on the plane. And I was like looking at these things and I was like, I guess this is the age I'm at. It's time for compression socks.
Gotta take out my compression socks for the long flight. Don't want my legs to swell up.
And I know, and I have to tell you something. I love Bombas socks, and I hope it's okay that I'm telling the Bombas people this, that I wore the compression socks and was like, you know what? I don't need these. I put my normal socks back on, but they were Bombas.
There you
go. So I switched it from Bombas to Bombas.
There you go.
The compression socks are the Bombas ones for fantastic. But if that's not your issue, if that's not your bag, they got other kinds. Best of all, they don't just feel good, they do good. One purchase equals one donated to someone who needs it. You can also order Bombas abroad. That's right, along with the U.S., they now ship internationally to over 200 countries. As I've said, I'm a huge fan of Bombas socks. I wear them just about every single day. They're super comfortable. They last. They're incredibly well made. They look good. They have a bunch of different styles. I wear these vintage style that I really like. Head over to bombas.com and use code LOVEIT for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com, code LOVEIT at checkout. Bombas.com and use code LOVEIT. This week, we got a news story. Trump explained that his friendship ended when Epstein betrayed him by poaching employees from Mar-a-Lago.
You're saying that Jeffrey Epstein poached two of your staffers? Who were they? Were they young?
I don't want to say two, or I don't want to say any number. You're talking about many years ago. But yeah, he took people. And because he took people, I said, don't do it anymore. You know, they work for me. And he took, beyond that, he took some others. And once he did that, that was the end of him. I didn't like, when they steal people, I don't like it.
As I told Jeffrey, people should work at Mar-a-Lago till they die or be buried alive facing my pyramid. And then, for the first time in this story, things took a dark turn. Trump admitted that the stolen employees from Mar-a-Lago spa included Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre, who died by suicide earlier this year.
Mr. President, did one of those stolen, persons, that include Virginia Giuffre?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her.
Giuffre's family said in a statement Wednesday, it was shocking to hear President Trump say that he was aware that Virginia had been stolen from Mar-a-Lago. It makes us ask if he was aware of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's criminal actions, especially given his statement 2 years later that his good friend Jeffrey likes women on the younger side. And they're right to wonder because Trump's timeline doesn't work. Giuffre said in a 2016 deposition that Maxwell approached her at Mar-a-Lago in 2000. 2 years later, in 2002, Trump called Epstein a terrific guy in a New York Magazine profile. It was in their famous New York's 15 Dating Under 15 list. It's a tough week for news. It's a tough week for news. All of this has led to a full-blown revolt among many who believe Trump really would expose the truth about Epstein.
The Epstein stuff is so crazy because when Kash Patel was on here and he was like, there's nothing. And I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah. I didn't even know what to say. And he's like, well, we have a film. We're going to release that film. And the film has a minute missing from it. Yeah. Like, do you think we're babies? Like, what is this?
Let's take a deep breath and not get ahead of ourselves. Rogan is incorrect that there's a minute missing. Wired updated their report to say it was actually 3 minutes. But hold on, before everybody starts spiraling out. CBS later found that the playback in that video was sped up, so 8 minutes are missing. And the video doesn't actually prove what the government said it did, which is that no one could have gotten in or out of Epstein's cell, which is absurd on its face when you see that in the video, you cannot see the door to Epstein's cell. And then we learned this week that in the video, there is a mysterious orange blur moving up the stairs towards Epstein's cell in the security camera footage from the night he died, which the government claims is a guard holding prison uniforms, but forensics experts say is more likely someone in a prison uniform. Now, doesn't all of this more likely confirm that the government wasn't covering up a murder, but their own incompetence, guards not checking his cell, rules not being followed, cameras not being functional? No. Regardless, this story isn't going away because Trump has made the conspiracy theories true. There is now a cover-up by a politicized Justice Department doing the bidding of a president who is dissembling about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, who dispatched his former personal attorney to talk to Epstein's key accomplice, and who was informed by the Attorney General back in May that he is in the Epstein files. And the best officials can do is try to distract everyone by pretending to have found some damning new evidence in the Russiagate conspiracy hidden in burn bags, which even Trump couldn't figure out.
Cash Patel reportedly found burn bags of Russiagate materials, and we'd love to get your thoughts on that.
He said what?
Burn bags of Russiagate materials
I
that
don't
the
know
guy
that.
supposedly found.
I don't know that. I don't know what you mean by that statement. Say it.
Bags full of Russiagate
A
documents.
burn bag. I thought you said appointed him in a burn bag.
Fuck is he talking about? The fuck is that? Trump didn't even know that the question was trying to help him out. Because the claim here is that the Justice Department had damning evidence of its own corruption and then put it in a bag and hid it in the Justice Department for Kash Patel to find years later. As a wise man once asked,
Like, do you think we're babies?
and that's not the only conspiracy theory we've come to believe. In other corrupt autocrats clinging to power to stay out of prison news, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been crying hoax, claiming that contrary to the images we've all seen with our own eyes, no one is starving in Gaza.
Israel is presented as though we are applying a campaign of starvation in Gaza. What a bold-faced lie. There is no policy of starvation in Gaza. And there is no starvation in Gaza.
This despite Israel tightening the blockade after the temporary ceasefire ended in March and aid into Gaza plummeting as a result. But you can't get away with denying such an obvious reality. You're not Hunter Biden or my dad bringing me to Hooters that time. Netanyahu's claim that reports of the IDF killing Palestinians at aid distribution sites run by U.S. contractors are a fabricated smear against Israel, even though a former U.S. Navy SEAL came forward to say he witnessed this firsthand.
I witnessed the Israeli Defense Forces shooting at the crowds of Palestinians. I witnessed the Israeli Defense Forces firing a main gun tank round from the Merkava tank into a crowd of people.
And Netanyahu continues to blame Hamas for stealing aid, even as Israeli military officials told reporters they'd found no proof that Hamas had systematically stolen aid from the UN and that the UN aid delivery system was largely effective. That doesn't mean Hamas isn't monstrous. John Wayne Gacy didn't commit tax fraud. Doesn't make him a good guy. It's just the facts on the ground. And while Netanyahu insists that Israel isn't to blame for the lack of aid reaching Gaza, we've repeatedly seen that Israel will allow more food and medicine into Gaza when international pressure ramps up. And we all love ratatouille, but we have to talk about this. Boy, can that rat cook. Even Donald Trump can see what is happening here.
But we're going to be getting some good, strong food. We can save a lot of people. I mean, some of those kids that's real starvation stuff. I see it. And you can't fake that. So we're going to be even more involved.
Before we give Trump too much credit, he also demanded a thank you from Gaza.
You know, you really at least want to have somebody say thank you. No other country gave anything. We gave $60 million 2 weeks ago for food for Gaza. Nobody gave but us. And nobody said, gee, thank you very much. And it would be nice to have at least a thank you.
Sorry, man. Hamas stole the thank you cards. We've also been told it's a conspiracy to claim that Benjamin Netanyahu is prolonging this war for his own political purposes. But we now have reporting by the Times from inside the room where Netanyahu was reportedly ready to accept a ceasefire a year ago until far-right ministers threatened to withdraw from his coalition. I can't imagine wanting to keep a job this much. If John and Tommy kicked me out, I'd be like, okay, cool, but can you pay me in Steam points? Well, I'd be doing a lot of gaming. I don't know what to do. Netanyahu continued the war, even as his own commanders told him that there was no further advantage to be gained from the conflict. It meant Israel left certain areas only to recapture them later. Taking, giving up, and retaking Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City led to its near total destruction. Thousands of Palestinians and at least 8 hostages have died in the year since that meeting. Meanwhile, Israel's standing in the world hasn't been this precarious in decades. European leaders have rightly begun a push to recognize a Palestinian state, which Israel claims would be rewarding Hamas for committing terrorism. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney announced that Canada would be open to joining Europe in recognizing Palestine as well. Former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau released a statement praising Carney, saying, "Baby, you're a firework. Come on, show him what you're worth." And it's strange. It's like a weird tone to take in it. I don't know. Recognizing a Palestinian state is not a victory for Hamas. It points to a way out of a bleak and hopeless reality that empowers Hamas. Hamas started this war. Hamas could end this war. Hamas is evil, and in holding hostages and prolonging this conflict, it continues to be responsible for the suffering of the Palestinian people. That is true. But Israel's conduct of this war has been depraved. Gaza is leveled. At least 18,000 children are dead. Israel is responsible for Gaza's suffering too. That is also true. And there's a lot of accusations of anti-Semitism, and there's a lot of anti-Semitism. But nothing true is anti-Semitic, and nothing anti-Semitic is true. Which is why Jewish people like me demand Israel do what it can to end that suffering right now, because we hold Israel to a higher standard than we do a terrorist organization. And if that makes me a conspiracy theorist, fine, because we're all conspiracy theorists now. I do think Justin Trudeau is Castro's kid. That is something I genuinely believe. But so is Katy Perry. All right.